And what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Designated Players and MLS podcast. The conference semifinals are over. We know the four teams left vying for the MLS Cup. We know how they got there. We know which frauds were sent home. Atlanta. Today, we're going to go through every semifinal match, review what happened in that match, and then, as Connor remembers, we have a segment coming up. And then we will take a quick look at the conference final matchups. I'm Andrew. That's Connor. Let's dive into some playoff footy. Connor, how you doing?
Clearly not very organized considering
Yeah.
we started an episode and I had no scarf on.
Yeah, well, we are doing this after work, so we are a little frazzled.
Yeah.
You could see by
Razzle,
my
razzle,
my my
dazzle.
work hair, and
That just looks like your hair every day.
no, this is done. My hair
That's done.
usually my hair usually is under a hat, so
It's
I could
about as done
still.
as a raw chicken.
There we go. Now we're ready.
That's better.
Oh man. Well, um, yeah, listen, we got six games to talk about here. So why don't we just jump right into Scarf of the Week so we can get rolling here. What do you got?
Well, I remembered to grab it. I took it out before, so I was prepared, but I have how many teams? Technically I have a scarf for three teams, one of which I am not going to wear. The second one would boost your ego too much, so I'm not going to do that. So I was left with only one option, and I am bringing out my Bigfoot Seattle Sounders scarf.
I very, very shocked that neither of us has LA Galaxy. We need to change that.
If they
Uh,
win it all this year, I'll get a Galaxy scarf.
I think it should be our first DP
Oh,
Pod away day.
what a I should have asked for scarves for Christmas. I totally blanked on that. Missed opportunity.
Broad.
Yeah,
Uh,
seriously.
yeah, so that should be our first DP Pod away day. LA.
LA, yeah, let's do first DV Pod away day all the way across the country. Genius
Yeah,
idea.
why not? Who says no? I don't say no.
Well, yeah, I mean, even for you, it's across the country.
Yeah, but that's it. We're gonna go do traveling. Eventually, we got to get to Red Bull Atlanta here. I'll have that, because that's only 2 hours from me. I've been to Charlotte, Cincinnati, and the baseball stadium. So my list is small. I need to expand it.
Mine is small too, so
Yeah,
I'm
it's
right there
not
with you.
about size. It's never size doesn't matter. That's what I've been told.
It's about the games you see, quality of the games you see.
I, of course, am rocking the greatest team left, the New York Red Bulls. What a result. We'll talk all about it here. Oh, and yeah, that's right. It does meet in the middle. Dubs. So let's just jump right in. And just a reminder, originally this was supposed to be us breaking down two games each and diving into it and just kind of giving you a quick rundown before we got to the previews. But because I have to save Connor from actually having to watch soccer in this lifetime, I will be doing the breakdowns and he'll just make a sentence or two for each because watching soccer is like throwing him in a fire, I think.
Listen, that's not the proposition I made. I said we should talk about them together. That doesn't mean that you only have to talk about them and I'll just sit here and watch you ramble on because nobody wants that.
I mean, listen, it's what we do anyway, because I know ball and you just sit there and like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right.
I hate those moments when I have to say that.
I love them. I actually have them all clipped. I'm actually releasing a 45-minute video of all the times you just said, yeah, you're right. It's gonna be great. That's how we're starting off the new year. Spoilers. No, why don't we dive into the only game that actually mattered this weekend because all the other teams are irrelevant. And the Red Bull is massive. It was the first ever Hudson River Derby. It was my New York Red Bulls knocking off the Blue Baseball team 2-0 in regulation. The theme of this round, like it was in every round, was fantastic goalkeeper play, and we saw that here as well. New York City posted a 2.8 XG according to FB Ref, and Coronel conceded zero. Red Bull benefited from a couple wonder goals. Their DPs actually playing like DPs. The Yankees light team missing clear sitters, and they withstood the attack. Right, so the game starts out messy. No pun intended. It was not a pretty game on the baseball field, but that played to the strength of Red Bull, right? They were winning tons of 50-50s in the middle of the park. They were making things congested, so New York City had to play long. Reyes ate it up all day long. Then what felt like out of nowhere, DP midfielder Felipe Carballo swung his left boot through the ball from way downtown and thumped it past Matt Freese for a 1-0 lead. Might have taken a deflection, might not have. I still couldn't tell. Like one view looks like it did, the other one looks like it just went clean through. But either ways, we're up 1-0. And then a couple of minutes later, it was Dante Van Zier, who is on a Tom Barlow redemption arc in the playoffs here. Couldn't do anything in the regular season, but once the playoffs come in, yep, I'll tap in goals from 2 yards out. He was the quickest to react on the second chance from the corner kick to make it 2-0. Red Bull were flying. Citi Field sounded like a Red Bull home game. It was so good. The only thing you heard throughout the entire game were the Red Bull away fans cheering, singing. It was wonderful. You guys were great. And New York City and their fans were shocked. They would get back into the game, but the story of the 90 minutes was that New York City created a lot of chances and they couldn't put them away. All year long, you have Alonso Martinez, this danger man up top, scoring goals all over the place. He couldn't hit the ball to save his life. Either straight at Carlos Coronel, missing tap-ins, missing the frame completely. It was brutal. Santi and Maxi were pretty much subdued from Andres Reyes and Daniel Edelman pretty much the entire 90 minutes. They didn't win any second balls. It was pretty much Red Bull winning those nasty bits of the game, which is what I think put them over the edge. At the end of the full-time whistle, it was Red Bull that clinched their spot in the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time since 2018. All right, I'll give you your time here. Your thoughts.
I mean, it wasn't, you're not looking at a game where Red Bull dominated and is stacking up the score sheet, but it's the playoffs. You don't need to do that. You just got to find ways to win. You got to bring the right tactics to the game. And I think Sandro Schwartz did that. I think he played the game tactically well. You know, he had his guys out on the field, which I think is helpful. You know, both matchups against NYC this year, limited time for Forsberg. Wouldn't be surprised if Lewis Morgan missed time in those games as well. So having that full team on the field, I think, is super helpful. Get that continuity, and Cornell is stepping up at the right time, and that I mean that's massive. That's been the story of the entire playoffs. Is the teams that have been successful are the ones where they're seeing their goalkeepers step up. Obviously, that's not every single team, but you know, there's been a lot of cases of that, and Cornell is not he's not removed from that conversation. I think it's the same thing here. So, good result for Red Bull. They did the job that they needed to do. It doesn't matter how pretty it is. All that matters is that you move on to the next round.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty. It was very, very
Yeah,
pretty. It
debatable.
all because as you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it's not always about what you look like on the outside, but the heart that you play with on the inside. So, yeah, I like that. I'm just gonna say you're wrong. You don't know ball, and that's okay. But
That's
this
usually what you
team,
say.
yeah, this team is flying with the why not us attitude, and I love it. Right? You can see on the field that they don't care about who's across from them. They're going to step up to that challenge. You see it in their defending, they're throwing bodies on the line to block shots. They've got these recovery runs to prevent service or make last ditch tackles. They genuinely believe that they can beat anybody. And honestly, why not? Right? If you throw it back and only because this is the 10-year anniversary of this moment was last week, a very promising upstart boys varsity high school program from the town of Comac won a state championship 10 years ago. And the first one in 20 years. But what happened that year, right? Everybody knows the story, but let's retell it.
Oh God.
That Comac team was good. Some say great, some say the best of our generation. But the path to the finals missed out on a ton of key teams, right? We didn't have to go through the Brentwood. We didn't have to go through Massapequa, which actually had Sean and Dylan Nealis on it. We didn't have to play them. We didn't have to go through Ward Melville. We didn't have to go through any of the teams that would have given us any trouble. We had a relatively easy path through. Now, I'm not saying that all the teams were walkthroughs, but the teams that were supposed to be big got knocked out early. And that is what Red Bull are seeing right now, right? We knocked out the big team in Columbus, Miami, and Cincinnati gone. And then we go through our rival in New York City. And now it's like, all right, we're riding a high and we have to go through. We expected if we were going to get this far, it was supposed to be Messi in Miami. Now we've got Orlando and Facundo Torres. Why not? Right? Why not? That isn't the same level. And the other part of this is my favorite. All of the That's So Metro moments that are supposed to be breaking my heart right now are not happening. New York City hit the post a couple of times. We scored goals we shouldn't have scored. They were missing sitters that are, we're the ones who are supposed to miss sitters, not the other team. Like everything that's supposed to be hurting us is not hurting us. Just absolutely, like I'm just riding the high because I know that it's going to hurt us even worse in the conference finals. And if it doesn't, it's going to break my heart in the MLS Cup final. Listen, big ups to Andres Reyes, an absolute monster, winning every physical battle in the air, cleaned up everything in front of him. Definitely hoping Sean Nealis is okay. That injury looked really, really bad. But Dylan Nealis was solid. So was Coronel. And I won't talk about the rest of that because that's more of a preview for the next game. But
Listen, you know what that means though? You're due for an Andres Reyes red card.
stop. I don't need this.
You know it's true.
I don't need this. I don't
In
need
the
this right
biggest moment, on the biggest stage, Andres Reyes will step up and do Andres Reyes things.
now. I don't need that bad vibes in my life. I'm gonna pretend you didn't say that. I'm manifesting it away. But yeah, it's nice to see us get a little bit of luck for a change. Usually the That's So Metro stuff comes when we're in the top seed. Now that we're the bottom seed, why not? Right? Why not go on some silly sort of run?
We'll see how long it lasts. Stay tuned. You'll find out what we think for next round.
Oh, nice. A little call to action there. What a good podcaster you are.
Some say I'm professional.
Not me. Professionals don't forget their scarf at the beginning of the episode.
That's fair. That is a
Yeah.
good point.
Well, why don't we move on to the second game of the nightcap on Saturday? And it wasn't so much a nightcap as much of an early Sunday morning cap on the East Coast. Seattle Outlast LAFC in extra time, and it was the Stephen Fry show. LAFC didn't quite dominate the XG game. I think only like 1.2 XG, but in the moments where Fry needed to be big, he was big. After a generally tame first half, things picked up in the second, and it had to be podcast legend Ryan Hollingshead, didn't it? Getting up advanced in the 50th minute, finding a gap in the box, finishing off a service from Bogusz with a single touch. Somewhere you heard a loud yelp, and I believe that was Adam Tamburello just jumping with joy. The yelp heard around the world, if you will, for striker Ryan Hollingshead getting his like billionth playoff goal. But then some may say match fixing. Some may say Daddy Don's got his hands in the cookie jar again because Maxime Chanot scored an own goal worthy of a match fixing shout. Albert Rusnak got the ball with tons of time and space out wide, played this half-hearted cross into the box. Chanot had nobody around him, tried to clear it, shanks it, and puts it straight past Hugo Lloris. I mean, unbelievable. Just
He's making his claim to move up the field. He doesn't want to play center back anymore.
Look at me, coach. Look at me. Goals all over the place. It was pretty calm for about 30 minutes, give or take. And then in the last 5 minutes, it was LAFC who turned up the pressure. Corner kick in the 87th minute is nodded down towards future 2026 USMNT World Cup captain Aaron Long, who juggles it to himself and bicycle kicks it towards Stephen Fry's goal, trying to tell Mauricio Pochettino, I still got it, boss. If Tim Ream can play till he's 47, I can play right now. However, Stephen Fry was quickest to react and saves it down to his right-hand side. Then you go over to the 94th minute where yet another corner finds Jesus Murillo, unmarked at the top of the six, flicked it towards the middle of the goal, hits off King Ryan Hollinghead's face, and deflects towards the goal. Fry, with his just cat-like reflexes, to be cliche about it, just reaches up and pushes it away. That got us to the full-time whistle and on to extra time, where LAFC would continue the pressure. And Fry was called in to make the best save of the match in the 100th minute when Matty Bogusz had a clear look at goal, which was deflected off of the defender in front of him, forcing Fry to make a kick save to deny the goal and keep it level. With all these heroics and all that effort, you felt that something was incoming for Seattle. And in the 109th minute, it came. Jordan Morris, you hero. A corner gets cleared and recycled by Seattle, flicked into the box, falling to Jordan Morris himself, and without hesitation, he gets it onto his right boot and fires it past the near post of Hugo Lloris to give Seattle the lead. They had finally broken through, but LAFC had one more chance in them, and in the 119th minute, who else but Ryan Hollingshead in the box, trying to get him his team level for penalties, rips it to the near post of Stephen Fry's goal, who just barely gets across and keeps it out. The full-time whistle goes, and it would be the Seattle Sounders moving on to the Western Conference Finals. Your thoughts on the game and what went wrong for LAFC?
I would think so. First thing I think in my head is it's the goalkeeper performances. They are hugely differential in these games, especially these one-off games. I mean, it is so crucial for your goalkeeper to be on their game. There's no better goalkeeper in MLS Cup playoffs than Stephen Fry. This guy is different gravy when it comes. If you're taking a tier list, you got Memo Ochoa in the World Cup, and you got Stephen Fry in MLS Cup playoffs because this guy just takes it to the next level. He's the guy I would want in net for a playoff run. I mean, he's experienced, he's been there, he knows how to organize his team, and he knows how to step up and keep his team in games, keep his team motivated. And that was massively influential in this game. And again, it's another like you look at the two games where the road team won. It's Red Bull and it's Seattle. In both of those games, arguably your man of the match is your goalkeeper. If you're going to be the road team, you need your goalkeeper to step up. You are going to be on the back foot most likely for a majority of the game. I think Seattle was, just in my opinion, it seems like LAFC. It took a while to get there, but towards the end of that game, it was mainly LAFC. But in the playoffs, you got to make the most of your chances, and that's exactly what Seattle did. Jordan Morris made the most of his chances. LAFC did not make the most of their chances. Not to necessarily their fault. If Fry is playing out of his mind and making a bunch of saves, then there's only so much you could do unless you're hitting him top corner every single time. But just not clinical enough from LAFC. I mean, this is what I said in my prediction for this one. It just didn't feel like this was a dominating LAFC team, and I think this game kind of showed that. I think 2 years is it 2 years ago at this point? Yeah, 2 years ago, LAFC, I don't think loses this game.
Man, it was nice. Just subtly flex your prediction there. Why didn't you subtly flex your prediction for the first one?
Listen, I knew Red Bull was gonna get enough hype from you as is, so I didn't feel the need to add more to it.
Yeah, something like that. For me, firstly, LAFC ran out of gas, right? They are one of those teams that played like the stupid amount of like 60 games in a year or something. And they had such minimal depth early in the year to rotate through. I think I saw something on Blue Sky that was like Denny Bouanga played almost 5,000 minutes this year between club and country. It
Man,
just
who would have thought looking at that team in the offseason that they wouldn't have enough depth? Who
yeah.
would not me? I wouldn't have thought that.
Well, they had well, you would assume, and I'm going to talk about this in a second. You would assume that they had the depth throughout the rest of the like this point of the season, right? Like, and we talked about it. You had some of this depth. The big names that you expected to be your depth didn't show up. Olivier Giroud in MLS and MLS Cup playoffs, presented by Audi, of course. He's gone 900 minutes without a goal. Olivier Giroud, who torched Serie A last year, was France's first sub off the bench in the Euros or the World Cup or whichever one was just most recently. Like he was getting significant game time for the world champions, and he just ghosted. Right? Carlos Vela didn't even make the bench for this game. This is a guy we were like, oh my god, yeah, Carlos Vela's here. He's the game changer off the bench. You played him 4 minutes this year. You brought him in and played him 4 minutes. Are we kidding? What are we doing? Like Dolo's gonna get all this slack, like, oh, another tournament without a trophy, like Dolo's got to go, Dolo out, right? What do you want him to do when you've got all these players and they're not even there?
Well, isn't that his choice? I mean, the Giroud thing, obviously not, right? Like he can't make Giroud play better on the field, but like if Vela's barely even in the team, is that not his choice?
Well, I'm assuming, and I don't know this completely, but I'm assuming he has some sort of say in like, oh, who should we bring in? And if your choice is 35-year-old Carlos Vela as your super sub, and then you're choosing not to bring him in, then yeah, it's on him. But if you bring him in and he's like, yeah, I'm ready to go, and your doctors give him the full thing of health, and then he's like, oh yeah, I don't want to play or I'm hurt or whatever, and he just doesn't. Because I heard not only did he not make the bench, he didn't even travel to the game. I heard he just let the team go. It's like, what was the point? Where was the thought process behind that? I've got no idea. Um, just shambolic stuff. But yeah, they ran out of gas first and foremost. And again, that's not so much on Dolo as you want to try and win everything you do. But this thing about what is going wrong, maybe it is Dolo's tactics not getting Olivier Giroud involved much, right? Maybe it is his choice to play him as a trying to, I don't know, be a false nine so Denny Bouanga can run in behind him. I don't know. But man, it's just key players didn't step up, right? Matty Bogusz, who lit up the league this year, nothing. You know, he had the assist to Ryan Hollinger, right? Denny Bouanga didn't score. Christian Oliveira didn't hear his name once in the highlights when I rewatched it. I mean, what are you gonna do, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you need your big players to step up in the playoffs. These are the moments that you need from them the most. Like they can contribute as much as they need to over a course of the season, but playoff time, this is where you need your guys to really lock in and step up, especially when your team needs the help. This was a moment that like they needed Buanga the most, and he just he wasn't there for the moment. Not
And
to say
again,
that he's not still like an amazing player. Obviously he is,
no,
but
no, no, for 100%. But this then goes back to it, right? Like, first off, why is your roster build only giving you 18 players to start the year, right? Whose shoulders that fall on, right? Is John Thornton probably? He needs to answer some questions about that because if you're going through Champions League or Champions Cup and early MLS and all this stuff, and you can't rotate out, that's a problem, right? That's a huge, huge problem, and it doesn't fall on the coach there unless you're Bruce Arena or Bob Triple G
or Peter
because
Vermees.
or Peter Vermees. That was what I was really thinking of. Um, right? Those guys are like, okay, yeah, you're in charge of bringing the players in, signing the players, hiring the coach, firing the coach, and being the coach. This is all on you. But this one, it's like, okay, what do you want them to do there? And then you've got, you know, you can also then point to the MLS roster rules again. And we've been down that road before. You can go look up our thoughts on that. We're not going to go down it again, but you expand those a little bit so that you can be a little bit more flexible in these big tournaments. That's a different story. All right, let's go to the least important game. The Cinderella run finally ends. Orlando knocks off Atlanta in the conference semis 1-0. Atlanta were proven to be the frauds we knew they were, registering a total of 0 shots on target the whole game in the playoffs. Relegate them to USL now. Just fraud city population Atlanta, right? As predicted, right? Atlanta tried to sit in and absorb all this pressure, and Orlando took it to them. And we said it in the preview that they could not do that. Orlando was going to pick them apart. And they nearly scored in 5 minutes, right? They swung the ball to the back stick, 2 players unmarked. They needed Brad Guzan and the post to keep it out. Orlando would just continue the onslaught time after time, peppering the goal with shots, both on and off frame. And then finally, in the 39th minute, the breakthrough comes on a set piece. Ramiro Enrique, the quickest to react to a knockdown on a corner, tucked it past Brad Guzan. And honestly, that's pretty much all that happened in this one. This was a very not fun game to watch. Orlando continued the pressure in the attack, nearly got goals from Duncan McGuire, Enrique, Angulo. Miranchuk had one chance that went wide, but really that was it. Atlanta was not threatening at all. They withstood Orlando, and honestly, they were lucky not to lose by more than one. Muriel had a 3v1 right at the very end, and he passed it to Luis Abraham instead of, going in and scoring. I think Atlanta showed that their luck had run out, but I want to kind of hear from you what went wrong for Atlanta and all the minutes you watched, all what, 2 of them?
I mean, yeah, I mean the it was definitely like if this wasn't proof that the Miami series was just luck and Brad Guzan going nuts, then I don't know what does because it was like this is clearly a team that's on paper just not strong enough to be this far in the playoffs, and it finally started to show. I mean, I think it doesn't help considering the fact that every striker you have on the roster gets hurt within a matter of like 6 minutes. Not great. Not gonna get a lot of scoring chances when your only attackers are like a number 10 and some wingers that are like magically thrown around the field in random places. So that did not help for sure. But I think even with the strikers out there, it was going to be tough. I think chance creation just wasn't coming against like it did against Miami. I think that's a testament to Miami's defense being pretty poor and Orlando's being a lot more organized and better. This Atlanta team shouldn't have been as far as they were. I think they got fortunate to probably even get past Montreal, but then to obviously get past Miami. But the luck ran out. Some injuries didn't help, but I still think they've proven that they have a couple of good building blocks in place and they got money to spend. So I think things are still looking up. I am very curious to see what this small little playoff run means for Valentino's chances at keeping the job permanently. But we could talk about that at a later point in time and what people's thoughts are if something like that gets more material.
All right, I'm going to remind you one more time. You stick to the narrative. Atlanta beat Miami because Messi is a fraud. Ronaldo clear, get the engagement. What are we doing?
Sorry. I
Yeah.
went off the script.
Well, and this is what I mean. Like you think you're a professional. You don't even know how to get the views. You go one
I
time with eight,
do.
one
I
time
am the
with eight
views.
Forest to Middlesbrough, and you're like, oh, yeah, my job's done here. My notes are very similar to yours, right? For as much luck as Atlanta had in the Miami series, they had equally as much bad luck in this one. Jamal Tiare goes down with a muscle injury, replaced by Daniel Rios. And on the first kick of the second half, Rios is out because he got beamed in the head. Like, just unbelievably unlucky there. Again, you mentioned the striker force, I think, by the end of the game was Sabalo Janidze and Miranchuk playing as a two striker system with Ronald Hernandez and um,
Amador.
Amador, who, oh, fantastic player, by the way. That dude, he's going to do something special next year. But we'll talk about that later on, so make sure you're following us for that. Well, you combine those two injuries, right, with the fact that Brooks Lennon was out because of his injury in the first game. Gregerson was clearly not 100% because of his game one injury. And this was an Atlanta side that was pushing the limits. But I think it did show, kind of like you said, at the end of the day, this Atlanta team just doesn't have the class to compete at this level, lacking attacking ideas, defensively lucky more than they were good. And they got bossed in transition. They couldn't transition well at all, which for a team that isn't technically very good, that needs to be your strong point, right? You need to have the work rate to be strong in transition. Okay, we're gonna throw numbers forward and figure it out. But if we lose the ball, get ourselves back there and make sure that we're safe. And Angulo ripped you guys apart. Torres ripped you guys apart, and it's a shame because that's not the way you wanted to see Dax McCarty in his career, right? But it would have been great to knock him out at Red Bull Arena. He finishes up back where he belongs, but um,
He got to knock out Messi before he left, so
yeah,
it is a little bit of a high note.
yeah. Well, now he can focus full time on Major League Journeyman, and we'll have to collab with them at some point. But listen, like you said, Atlanta got a lot of money to spend. They got lots of areas to improve. This offseason going to be very interesting, not just in the player personnel, but to see how much of that money they're throwing at Jim Kirk. Because,
Hopefully, a lot of it.
yeah, well, I don't know. He might go to Vancouver now.
I wouldn't be no. I don't know what he's gonna do. I'm not even gonna try to speculate.
Yeah,
That's a
we'll talk
whole
about
other
it.
episode anyway.
We'll talk about it later. And then we go to the most insane game of the playoffs. It's LA Galaxy, Minnesota. It's a gunfight, and Minnesota brought a fish. Like within 6 minutes, it was already 1-1. First of all, insanity. I go to buy dinner once. I was like, oh, I'll slide back in. I got stuck at the light. By the time the light turned and I came in, it was 1-1. Galaxy scored in 30 seconds in after the most disgusting pass in MLS playoff history, presented by Adidas. No, presented by Audi. MLS history is presented by Adidas. Eventually, we're getting sponsored. Um, this outside of the boot, just outside of the boot swinging ball right into the path of Gabriel Peck, who cuts inside and just kind of dinks it over an on-rushing Dane St. Clair. It would be the first of many times that Gabriel Peck abused that left-hand side. But you turn it around and here comes Kelvin Yeboah, who they dispossess Ricky Puig, which never happens. Somehow they're able to pick it off of him, steps forward, plays it into Yeboah. Yeboah takes a touch to make his angle non-existent, and then blasts the pass in near post to John McCarthy. 1-1, because of course it is, right? And then they tacked on two more by the 37th minute because they just nobody could stop them, right? The first one comes off of a free kick on the left side of the box, and this guy Marco Royce, not sure if you heard of him, swings in an inch-perfect free kick, because of course he does, to a relatively unmarked Dejan Jovic, which not a bright idea for a guy who scored like 15 goals this year. He flicks his header past St. Clair. LA gets the lead. And then, oh yeah, this guy, Maya Yoshida, who has played all over the place in his career and is known for hitting a pin-perfect diagonal switch. They just gave him 30 seconds on the ball with no pressure to hit his fellow countryman, Mickey Yamane, on the right side of the field, who first times the ball across the box to find Joseph Paintsil crashing to the side of the box, who had nobody marking him. Again, not a good idea for somebody who scored 15 goals this year. And he taps it home for a 2-goal lead. It was all LA all the time until the 45th minute when the ball was served into the LA Galaxy box, pinballed around a little bit, fell to Yeboah, and Jovic put in just a relatively clumsy challenge. Referee easily points to the spot. Yeboah steps up and misses his penalty. Then VAR says, whoa, 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 hold on. We need to make this close. McCarthy was clearly off his line. Some good quick video editing moved him off his line. And then on the retake, Yeboah scores. So it's 3-2 going into the half. And you're like, all right, this game might turn into something. We might do something crazy here. And then in the second half is Gabriel Peck show, because this dude is on another level, and I will stand by it that it is a criminal offense that he was not listed for MLS MVP. He wasn't even on the list. This dude is insanity. His underlying numbers are top 5 all over the place. Newcomer of the year wasn't enough for him. Sorry. But a few minutes after the restart, he picks up the ball behind the halfway lines and goes on a Luciano Acosta-esque solo run, skinning multiple Minnesota defenders before passing into the bottom corner, restoring the 2-goal lead. He then basically did the same thing and drew a penalty in the 75th minute, which he stepped up and missed because Dane St. Clair saved it. So it could have been 7. Then he goes in, picks up the ball again on the outside, draws in Diaz, draws a second yellow card on him, dropping them 10 men and seeing the game out for the Galaxy. But then Josef Paintsil and Jovic both added one more for good measure. And LA Galaxy have now scored 15 goals in 3 MLS Cup appearances. Because of course they have. Thoughts, reactions.
I'm going to make what I think is probably a bold claim.
The coldest take of all time.
I don't think it's a cold take, but I have no evidence. I'm strictly going off vibes. There's no statistics to back this up, but I think this might be the best attack we've ever seen in MLS history.
Whoa, that is bold. I like that.
Like, it's insane the amount that they're clicking. And it's not like it's like, oh, there's one guy that's just kind of carrying everything for this team. I was gonna say all 4, but you can even make the argument for all 5 if you want to throw Royce in there. But I'll just keep it to the 4. All 4 of those guys, like every single game, are heavily involved in getting goals and assists. It's like constantly between the 4 of them. I mean, the front 3 each had 2 goals in this game. And Ricky, I know, is heavily involved as well. He ended up with assists, but he's heavily involved in a lot of that attacking buildup as well. It's just like, it's outrageous. Like, it is just outrageous how good this attack is. And like, as good as Seattle can be defensively, I don't see any team in this playoffs that could even come close to stopping them right now. Like, they are far and away the best team left in this playoff. I mean, you could argue they were the best team coming in. That's an argument. I think a lot of people would say Miami or Columbus. There's no question they are the best team left in this playoffs. They are the favorites. Everybody else is going to have to be on their A++ game to try to beat them. Now, what I will say, though, I think they're still susceptible on the defensive side. I mean, Minnesota did score 2 past them. So you can score goals on them if you magically manage to keep them off the score sheet or just low in the goals column. You can play yourself into this game, but good luck. I mean, that is a lot easier said than done. This team is disgusting in the attack.
You say no one can stop them, like Andres Reyes can't break all of their legs with 1 tackle. Stop that.
He only gets 1 leg break and then he's off.
Yeah, but you just line them up all at the same time.
You got to be strategic. This is what Sandro's going to be doing.
It's like
which one do we need to break the leg of?
No. It's like when you're trapping, like you're trapping what is it, like sheep herding, right? You get something to round them all up in one area, and then you just have Andres Reyes go through all of them.
4-1.
Boom. Yeah, yeah, 4-1. Boom. And then what?
That
Miguel
would be the
Berry.
greatest play Andres Reyes has ever made for.
And then what? Miguel Berry. Ooh. Oh man. Listen, Minnesota were outclassed, right? Like that's but so has everybody else at LA Galaxy who played. This attack is lethal. Defense is solid enough. They don't really need to be good when you score 6 goals a game.
Seriously.
They can't be stopped in wide spaces, man. They straight up cannot be stopped in wide spaces. You
When do you think,
need
sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. When do you think was the last time we've seen a winger combo as good as these two, as Paintsel and Peck?
what was it? Didn't we have this conversation 2 years ago when it was like they brought in Cabral and
Maybe you were
well,
having that
no,
conversation.
hold on. Cabral and who's the other one? It was Grancier, right? And
Yeah.
at that time, we are like, oh my God, this is good because they need to play with wingers because we haven't seen them be good without wingers since insert two wingers here. And it was those two wingers that were like, oh my God, we haven't seen them since the last. All right, now I got to look this up.
Oh God, here we go. Tangent. Probably. I mean, I would think their neighbors have got to be in the running for strongest winger combo.
Yeah, Vela,
Bella Rossi.
and Rossi. That's not a bad shout.
Yeah. I mean, this could be a whole episode idea. Top ten duos in MLS history.
Oh,
Although I don't know if you can call these guys
It was
duos.
Romain Alessandrini
Oh yeah. Was it
and
Pavone?
Pavone, yeah. And then, well, it was Romain Alessandrini, Pavone was on the bench, and Emma Boateng actually was running the show. So,
That makes sense.
but yeah,
Bruce
that
behind the
that was
scenes.
that was the man. This is such a throwback. I just clicked on 2017 LA Galaxy, Yele Van Dam, Michael Ciani, Ashley Cole,
Oh
Jonathan
gosh.
Dos Santos, Pele Van Aanholt, Jermaine Jones, Sebastian Lletget, 23 years old, Romain Alessandrini, Giovanni Dos Santos, Giassi Zardes, Jack Mack, Jack McBean. Oh my, what a terrible freaking. Oh God. Yeah, we got a lot of reviews to go through. Um, the other thing that is insane about this is your striker needs to be so committed to defending because Ricky Puig picks it up behind half every single time. You need him to drop in and pick up the striker. And that's what Minnesota didn't do. Both of their strikers just let Ricky Puig get in the half space and then run at their midfield line. And it was over. I mean, he just went and picked apart that back line. And I mentioned that before. It was like when we did the preview where Minnesota they bunkered in 5-3-2 and RSL couldn't break them down. You couldn't do that against LA because they've got the talent to break them down, and break them down they did. I just don't know what more you can do. I don't think there's much more you can do, but we'll have to see if Seattle can figure it out.
If there's one team that can, it is Seattle.
Speaking of Seattle, why don't we preview the LA Galaxy versus Seattle game? It will be the LA Galaxy hosting Seattle for a spot in MLS Cup. And we've talked about it already, but this Galaxy team is on another planet of talent. If there is one team that can stop them, Seattle might be it, though. They love a match against the Galaxy. This year, they're 1-1-1. They won 3-1 in League Cup, only a 1-0 loss in week 6, and a 0-0 tie in the other game. In the past 15 matchups dating back to 2019, they've only lost twice. 5 draws and the rest are dubs. Now, granted, that's a completely different Galaxy team than years past, but it's clear that they aren't worried about the name on the front or the players that are in there. They are going to take it to them no matter what. The Galaxy, on the other hand, have a record 15 goals in 3 matches in the MLS Cup playoffs presented by Audi. They genuinely look unstoppable. Colorado got torched. Minnesota got torched. And Gabriel Peck, Paintsel, Puig, and Joveljic just are robots. So that's the only way you can describe it, right? What are your thoughts?
Sorry, Seattle. I brought out your scarf because I don't own an LA Galaxy one. Otherwise, I would be rocking an LA Galaxy scarf for this one. But nobody's stopping the Galaxy right now. Obviously, Seattle's a much better defensive team than Minnesota and Colorado, so I don't suspect the Galaxy is going to stick 5 or 6 past them. But I still don't think the Seattle defense is strong enough to stop this attack right now. I don't think anybody's stopping this attack right now. The only way the Galaxy attack is getting stopped is if the Galaxy stop them themselves. So yeah, I'm gonna back the Galaxy. I'm gonna give a score line again. I'll stick to that like I did the last couple rounds, but I'll say the Galaxy take it 3-1. I think Seattle control them better than the last two teams have, but contain them as hard as you want. You will not stop them.
Yeah, I mean, outside of the Galaxy being unbelievable in attack and setting the tempo and controlling the game, the other worry that I have is Seattle's inability to score, right? They played Houston twice, up a man for an hour, and they scored one goal in the 87th minute of a game, right? Against LAFC, it was a mental own goal and a second chance set piece, right? They're not creating a lot with the ball, and that's not a good sign when you're up against a team that scores for fun, right? And that's going to be the killer for me is at the end of the day, it's who's going to create and take more chances, right? That's how the game is played. Once again, a reminder for our friends, you win the game by kicking the round ball through the white sticks. And if you don't do that as much as your opponent, they will beat you, right? That's how the game is played. LA is going to dominate the ball. They're going to set the tempo. They're going to expose you on the flanks, and they're going to score goals. So that means you need to be clinical with the ball at your feet, and Seattle have not shown that they can do that. I don't think they're going to be able to. Give me Galaxy 2-0. All right, then. Well, let's do one quick preview then of the game that matters. It's the mighty, mighty New York Metro traveling down south to take on Orlando City in the Eastern Conference Finals. I am so tempted to drive to this game. It is 6 hours away. It is 6 hours away, and I so badly want to go, but I don't know if I will. Red Bull are the lowest remaining seed, and they will look to continue the magic run in the MLS Cup playoffs presented by Audi. It is another matchup of a strong defense versus a strong attack, and the game planning will be crucial here. Orlando found success against. Actually, I'm going to save that. I'm going to ask you what you think. I want you to go first.
Well, I think you should not drive down to Orlando to see the game because I think you should be saving your money for an LA flight for
No.
the MLS Cup Championship because I'm gonna back Red Bull here in this game, and it's partially because I don't want to see Orlando go to the MLS Cup Finals. As much as I regret wanting to have to deal with you after making it to MLS Cup Final, but I think that Orlando has had a relatively easy route to this point in the playoffs. Charlotte is a good defensive team, but they are incapable of scoring and creating goals. I think that was evident in their three-game matchup against them, where Orlando kind of squeaked by on in that one. And say what you want about, we talked about how that series played out, but then you get Atlanta, another team that is incapable of scoring goals, had zero strikers for half the game. And now you're going up against Rebel, who I'm not saying is a attacking masterclass like LA Galaxy, but I think has a lot more attacking weapons at their disposal, like Forsberg and Lewis Morgan and playoff Dante Van Zier. But I think the key factor is going to be Cornell in this one. If he continues to play well, because Red Bull's going to be on the road again, I think Red Bull have a decent shot at getting through this game and going to the final. Clearly, they know how to win on the road. They've shown that so far. And I think they can continue it past Orlando here and make it to MLS Cup final against the Galaxy
Uh, I hate that.
because I pod
I
cursed you.
Yeah, because I'm pod cursing myself. Listen, Orlando found a lot of success against both Charlotte and Atlanta when they were given time and space on the ball to allow Torres, Angulo, and Enrique to do what they wanted to do, right? Red Bull absorbed a lot of pressure against Columbus, but they also pressed really, really well at times on the baseball field. How they come out to play in Orlando will be key. Red Bull are also likely missing Sean Nealis after that nasty injury where he went in and decked Justin Hack and then does not remember hitting the ground. He was out like a light. So hopefully he is healthy and no long-term effects, but I don't see him playing on Saturday. It will be Reyes, who has been fantastic as of late, as we've been speaking about, and Noah Isla, who has been good, not great. He has his moments where he is just next level, not good. So pair those two with Dylan Nealis next to them in a back three. You got to allow Cam Harper, you got to allow John Tolkien to get up and press with the team. But Orlando have found ways past all of the top goalkeepers that they faced, including goalkeeper of the year Christian Kalina and tranked up Brad Guzan. Like they don't care about who's in front of them. They will score goals, and I don't expect this defensive record to stand much longer against Orlando. I mean, we've had 2 clean sheets in 3 games. I don't think we see that again here. The biggest problem for me is that Red Bull need to get Emil Forsberg and Lewis Morgan on the ball more. The attack against New York City relied on screamers from distance and second chance set pieces. When we beat Columbus in penalties, it was Forsberg's monumental contributions in the attack to get us back in it. I think he had an assist for the first goal, and Lewis Morgan had an assist in the first goal, and Forsberg drew and converted a penalty for the second goal. Right against New York City, he and Lewis Morgan had 34 touches combined in the first half. That's not going to fly against Orlando. You need to get your star players involved. They need to be a part of this game. Orlando, on the other hand, are going to do more of the same, right? They're going to get the ball wide into space for Ivan Angulo. They're going to get Torres into pockets in the half space. They're going to get Enrique or Duncan running in behind. They're going to be strong. They're going to be physical. They're going to be enforcing throughout all 90 minutes and extra if they need to. They're going to be at home. They're going to have the crowd behind them. It's going to be a difficult run. But I've had this feeling since Columbus, and we are a different team than our record and our seeding shows. I think that we can hang with anybody. And I believe that they believe that. We're much more dangerous on the transition if Forsberg and Morgan are healthy and can get involved. If we press high and we press hard, I do think we have a chance. If we try and absorb pressure, I think it's over. I believe that Sandro Suarez is going to be brave. I think he's going to go for it on Saturday, and then he's going to go for it with everything that we have. Give me 2-1 in extra time, New York Red Bulls. Give me a heart attack and make me cry.
I forgot to give a scoreline. One thing I do want to say before I do give a scoreline though is another thing in your favor. I feel like I know you talked about Orlando's attack, but quite frankly, they have not been making the most of their chances in this playoffs. They have 4 goals in 4 games. They've generated more XG than they have goals. They're not really taking a lot of their chances, and you can get away with that against Atlanta and Charlotte because those teams just really can't score that many goals. So all you need to do is, if you put away 1 of 5 chances, you could still get away with moving on and winning because the other team is maybe going to put up 1 goal at most. I don't think you're going to get away with that with Red Bull. I think their attack isn't like out of this world, but I think it's better than the last 2 opponents. So if you're not taking your chances, I do think Red Bull will make you pay, just like they did NYC. I'm going to go with the same scoreline 2-1, but I'm going to say they do it in regular time.
How original. Well, Red Bull, good season. You've been cursed. It's over. We're so done. We're so down bad.
That's true. We
Yeah,
cursed them.
so
We double cursed them.
yeah.
It can be like 5-0.
So we're gonna get torched. It's gonna be something stupid too, like Andres Reyes red card in the 5th minute, and we're gonna have to
Yep.
yeah, it's gonna be over.
Yep.
But yeah, that's previews and predictions. That is reviews. It's all done. It's all here. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you follow us on all forms of podcast platforms and rate us. Give us some good feedback scores or what have you, because we want to let other people know that we're half decent. So make sure you do that, and then follow us wherever you get your social media. That's Twitter for just a little bit longer, Blue Sky, YouTube, and TikTok. So we are 584 subs. We're closing in on 600. Just get over there, hang out with us. We love the video content's a lot of fun, so make sure you do that, and then follow us everywhere else too, because it's also fun. Thanks so much, everybody. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you next time on the next episode of the Designated Players and MLS podcast. See ya.